Genix Ojinika is here right now with stories trending around the world. Hello, Genix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
To see you.
Good morning, Tundu. We are matching today.
Good morning, Oji. We are. I'd love to see it.
Me too. Good morning. So you were inspired yesterday?
Yes,
I
got
the memo. But I got it late.
Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United States, reactions trail a new report by the Brookings Institute think tank, which indicates that former President Donald Trump could face multiple criminal charges over his phone call to Georgia officials, asking them to find 11,780 votes to help him overturn Joe Biden's 2020 election win in Georgia. In France, a man pelted President Emmanuel Macron with an egg on Monday while he was visiting a restaurant and a hotel trade fair in the southeastern city of Lyon. The egg hit the president's shoulder but bounced off without breaking. The man was quickly subdued and removed from the room. In Yemen, security forces of the country's internationally recognized government on Monday violently dispersed thousands of protesters decrying deteriorating economic conditions, wounding at least 7 people. The demonstrators, who also took to the streets of Taiz, one of Yemen's largest cities, also expressed their anger over the unprecedented drop in the value of the country's currency, the rial. In Afghanistan, barbers have begun locking their shops following the Taliban's ban of hairdressers in the country's Helmand province. The Taliban on Monday banned hairdressers from shaving or trimming beards of Afghans, claiming that it breaches their interpretation of Islamic law. Under sports, reactions are trailing former world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua's stunning defeat to Ukraine's Alexander Usyk. On Monday, Frank Warren, who promotes British boxer Tyson Fury, said he believes Fury will have destroyed Joshua in the first half of the fight had he been in the opposing corner, and that the much-anticipated world heavyweight unification fight between the two Brits is now unlikely to hold. Finally, under entertainment, R&B superstar R. Kelly was convicted on Monday in a sex trafficking trial after decades of avoiding criminal responsibility for numerous allegations of misconduct with young women and children. A jury of 7 men and 5 women found him guilty of racketeering on their second day of deliberations.
I have been practicing law for 47 years. During this time, I have pursued many sexual predators who have committed crimes against women and children. Of all the predators that I have pursued, however, Mr. Kelly is the worst.
Otundu, she went on to say even Jeffrey Epstein. R. Kelly is the worst by far. I mean, this is the after effect of the Me Too movement, really, because remember, if you recall, celebrities were not even, they were untouchable. For a long time, they were untouchable. And it's such a shame to know that R. Kelly committed all of these crimes that he's been convicted for.
With his massive talent.
Such a shame.
God-given talent. This is what happened to him. And I just want to say, he was abused as a child, but that is no excuse. Him and his sibling, his brother, they were both abused. His brother did not grow up to be a sexual predator. He chose this. And like you said, OG, he was untouchable for a very long time. He's had brushes with the law. He even sang that song with Jay-Z. And what's it called? Guilty Until Innocent, with Jay-Z really laughing in our faces. He called himself the Pied Piper, a pedophile in plain sight. He was really rubbing it in all of our faces that nothing is ever going to happen to me. I will never face the consequences of my disgusting actions that he chose. Nobody forced him. It's really, really, it's actually sickening. Did you watch that Surviving R. Kelly?
I did. I watched a little bit. I mean, one of the most
goodness.
inspirational singers that you could ever meet, ever know. I mean, he was such a legend, Rufai. What happened to this man?
But he was a monster.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should focus on. It was a monster. He abused women. And that should have no place in society.
Children.
No matter who he is.
Children.
Most importantly. I always knew something was iffy about R. Kelly. Remember
Did
Leah?
you really?
Yes,
Remember
with the
Leah?
Leah one, yes.
Remember the Aaliyah one?
And everybody hushed it up.
So there's so many
Why
things.
did he marry the child?
But I'm excited about the Me Too movement. That people like this are finally having their time in court. Be it, Jeffrey Epstein that finally killed himself at some point, be it people like R. Kelly,
Harvey Weinstein,
all of them. And please, I keep begging, let's not hurt people. Because people hurt other people. We talked about Larry Nassar the other day. See what he did to Simone Biles.
All those gymnasts.
All those gymnasts. So I'm happy he will face the full wrath of the law and he will do his time. But really, can he really heal the hearts of those innocent women he's broken?
You know what he's saying here? He's saying he's completely surprised that this, this was the verdict. I don't know. I mean, let's see what will happen. Dr. Abati, what do you make of this whole saga?
This is a victory for the Me Too movement.
Yes.
You will recall that the R. Kelly matter came to international attention with the release of the documentary Surviving R. Kelly.
Yes.
During that Me Too movement. And so that emboldened many of his victims to come forward. This may be long in coming, but it's a major victory for those who are convinced, who are resolved to ensure that powerful figures do not use their positions of privilege to intimidate women or anyone at all. Yeah. So R. Kelly always got away with this. In 1994, he married Aaliyah. She died in a plane crash in 2001.
Yes.
But at the time that R. Kelly married her, she was just about 14 or 15. And it was so bad in this regard that he was even advising the young lady at the time to go for sex training, so that she will be able to satisfy him very well. But as it has happened, it's not just R. Kelly that is at fault. He had a team of staff, aides,
enablers,
who helped him to engage in this sexual predatory adventure. It doesn't matter how he was brought up. It doesn't matter what the psychological problem was. The thing to note is just that you don't use your position of power and privilege to abuse other people.
Yes.
This is the author of I Believe I Can Fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky and all of that.
You better start flying.
Now,
You better start flying, Tundu says.
It looks like he's going to fly into jail for the rest of his life. And he's going to touch the sky, in permanent, imprisonment. Because there are other cases in Illinois, in Minnesota, in Chicago, and in other parts of the United States. So this is just one of those cases. Again, this was a very swift, administration of justice. It took 2 days.
Yes.
Just about a jury of about 9, and they decided almost immediately that this is a man who should not be in decent human company. However, the point is, whatever happens to artists are not necessarily good men, but they will be remembered for their art. Some of the most notorious persons in the history of literature, art, and music, in culturology, as we call it, which is a subject we teach, is that, look, artists don't have to be good men, but if they provide us good art, even when they get punished, the whole concept is about crime and punishment, in culture. Okay, we'll still remember them for their artistry. So whatever happens, R. Kelly is going the way of that English playwright, Joe Orton. There was a whole movement in English drama where we talk about the Ortonesque. But Joe Orton was a crook, and he went to jail for all kinds of crimes. He was a thief. He was, a useless person as an individual. But he produced great literature. So R. Kelly may end up spending the rest of his life in jail, but we will remember him for his artistry, for his music, and the morality of it.
A little bit of a positive side.
The morality of it
will be
that being an artist, being a powerful person, does not mean that you have been given a license to behave like an animal.
Well, he
because
did
there are
inspire a lot
standards
of people
of human
with that
behavior.
song, I believe.
No,
I
but
Can
that's
Fly.
you, Dr. Abati.
Yeah.
There's a whole R. Kelly, mute R. Kelly movement, which I personally don't subscribe to. But people really feel like his music must never be heard. And I must stress, when I raised how he was brought up, it was not to excuse him. I would never do such a thing, which is why I said his brother was also abused, and his brother did not grow up to be an abuser. It's his choice.
Well
And
said,
just to
Tunde.
add real quickly, I pray there's a day we have laws as swift as this. There are many sexual predators everywhere, every corner, in high places in Nigeria, preying on young girls, destroying their future. They are too much in Nigeria. In fact,
Really?
Nigeria is fast becoming the headquarters of those sexual predators.
Really?
Right.
Oh, dear.
Well, all right. Well said, all.
Except that the context is different. There's poverty here. There's gender discrimination.
There's a lot of arguments
And the
in that
Nigerian
story,
woman
too.
does not have a voice.
Right.
We need to find that voice
Yeah,
first.
so too many
that the
sexual
Nigerian
predators in
woman
Nigeria.
can speak up.
Lord.
Well said. We'll take a story in Nigeria. Reports reaching us indicate that victims of an accidental airstrike by a fighter jet belonging to the Nigerian Air Force in a community in Yobe State were given only 10,000 naira in cash as compensation. At the time of the accident, the Nigerian Air Force, through its Director of Public Relations and Information, Edward Gabquet, said the jet was targeting members of an Islamic State in West African province when the community was attacked on September 15th. However, residents of the community who spoke with an online news platform, The Cable, said they had not experienced any attacks from the insurgents in the last 3 months and that they thought the community was insurgent-free. The governor of the state, Mai Malabuni, had directed government hospitals in the community to offer free medical service to those who sustained injuries in the disaster, but there were no reports of compensation from the government. One of the victims who spoke about the incident said the only compensation they received so far was 10,000 naira given to them by 2 politicians from the community. Rufai, we took this story earlier, if you recall, and Tunde made that point.
Yeah.
Yes, the governor went far to say, okay, we'll give you free medical, hospitality and all of that, but no compensation. And now we are hearing 10,000 naira. I mean, what can 10,000 naira do, Rufai?
You see, it is very sad what is happening in this country. And you look, this is a governor that is supposed to protect people in his states. He gave them free medical care. For what? Who is supposed to take care of them? For the fact that you gave them free medical care should not even be mentioned at all. Then compensation, they should get hefty compensation. Do you know the compensation of the people that were killed in Okpe bombing got? I'm sure the 10,000 naira is not. I want to think it's dash.
That's all they've gotten so far, Rufai,
But-
since September 15th.
but-
That is what one of the victims is saying.
People should push for compensation. I don't know if they're going to take this to any extent. Appropriate compensation must be paid for them. People lost life. What are we turning this country into?
I have no idea.
What are we turning this country into?
Your analysis.
I had a feeling that this would happen,
Yes,
which is why
'cause
I
you did
raised that
raise
point.
that point,
When
yes.
you hear a line like they've been given free medical treatment as
For
if we're
what?
supposed to applaud that, you kind of know, you surmise from that that's the extent of what the government feels that they owe these people, which is why they have now been insulted by this 10,000 naira. And I must stress, the 10,000, I don't mean to cause any offense to the politicians who gave them 10,000 naira out of their own pockets, because it's not really for them to do. It should be state government to compensate their people
Yes.
properly. 10,000 naira can barely buy them lunch. I mean, what kind of an insult to add to the original injury is this? It's really disgraceful.
Well,
About
there's
your
no
analysis on
amount of
this.
money that will bring back the 9 persons that were killed when that accident occurred September 15. 9 persons killed, 24 persons were injured. Many other persons lost property, lost cattle, lost other things. You will recall that initially the Nigerian Air Force denied that the incident even occurred at all. But then the Nigerian Air Force came round later and admitted the responsibility, which I think is something that you could say is commendable. Because earlier in 2017, when in Ran, a village called Ran, over 100 persons were also killed as a result of error on the part of the Nigerian Air Force. Nobody took responsibility for it. So that was one positive part of it. But in this particular case, to put it in context, It was the chairman of the local government, Yunusari local government area, Buhari village in Yobe State, accompanied by the lawmaker.
The lawmaker, correct.
Representing that part of the state, that went there to visit the families, affected families. And the lawmaker, out of his own concern and empathy, gave this 10,000 naira. So, I mean, we can't put the lawmaker to task. The story got reported, but he just wanted to empathize with the people. And I think that should be commended.
Yes,
it's not about the money,
no,
because the money will not bring anybody back. However, the larger question, the Nigerian Air Force will readily tell you that, yes, mistakes happen. After all, even the U.S. Air Force made a mistake in Kabul, Afghanistan, on August 9, when they ended up mistakenly killing about 10 civilians. But maybe we shouldn't compare apples and oranges. We will expect that the Nigerian Air Force will up its game. If it's looking for soldiers of the Islamic State of the West African province, ISWAP, it should deploy the kind of technology that will be able to identify ISWAP people.
But did you hear what one of the victims said? They thought they were insurgent-free. So what were they looking, what intelligence did they have?
I mean, maybe Nigerian Air Force got the coordinates wrong or whatever, but they should be more professional in how they deploy technology. However, it's on record that the Nigerian Air Force, after admitting that it was an operational error, they set up a committee to investigate the matter. It's been about 2 weeks since that committee was set up. What is the outcome of their investigation? What steps are they going to make sure that these mistakes do not occur so frequently and so embarrassingly? And it will be, I hope, part of the recommendations of that committee that has been set up to address the issue raised about compensation.
Compensation.
And that compensation, should be the state, the Nigerian state, identifying with the people in their moment of grief and assuring them that such mistakes will not happen again, and just showing that there's this thing they call in international law, responsibility to protect. That the Nigerian state, while it is fighting the terrorists, it also has a responsibility to protect, harmless, innocent civilians who do not deserve to be born out of their homes and punished for crimes that they have not committed.
I just want to ask a question. Is it because these people are poor and defenseless? That's why we can.
There's no reason for anything. There's no reason.
Is it because we are not building a country that works for all? And it's sad. Is it because they don't have elite amongst them that can fight for them?
That's exactly why. And that's exactly
why I think
that's exactly why it should be
There's a panel that has been set up. There's a panel that has been
how
set
long
up.
does it take to compensate these?
It's not fair.
I know how many they are. 24, I believe. I mean, it's not that hard. We'll take another story.
No amount of compensation will resurrect anybody.
All right.
So the mistakes should not happen.
No said. Well, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has come under fire on social media for saying that efforts to restart the tourism sector was being hindered by what he described as COVID-19 vaccine nationalism. While addressing the 44th edition of the United Nations World Tourism Day 2021 celebration with the team Tourism for Inclusive Growth in Kebbi State, the minister said the tourism sector could only open up effectively and contribute to economic growth when people are adequately protected from COVID-19. He also stated that the financial capacity of some countries makes it easy for them to access COVID-19 vaccines to the detriment of the poorer countries. The minister therefore called on rich countries of the world to retrace their steps and embrace collective and equitable global strategy for COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing, procurement, and distribution, stressing that they must also stop ineffective nationalistic disposition in COVID-19 responses. Well, let's take a reaction. This is a comment on social media. Someone says, now blaming the rich countries for looking after their people. Nigeria should be one of the richest countries in the world, but people like you have stolen our commonwealth for their family and friends alone. During the NSAS protest, they should mind their business. But now they're being blamed for your inability to create wealth for your country, even though Nigeria is rich in mineral resource and manpower. Over to you, Tundu.
I'm still trying to answer tourism. I didn't really make that link there.
What the gentleman is saying is that, you know, during the NSAS protest, the Minister of Information says that the richer countries should not interfere in our country's business. But now they want the richer countries to donate and have, you know, equitable distribution and all of that for the COVID-19 vaccines. But the issue now is a lot of people are saying, why is the minister blames on tourism? Well, he's the Minister of Information and Culture, so, I mean, I guess he knows what he's saying with that point. But that's besides the point. The point really is stop blaming people for your inadequacies. That's the issue.
Right.
There's no denying the fact that there's inequity in terms of how the global community has managed the pandemic. And there is nothing that the minister has said that is out of place. It's a no-brainer that there is inequity. Many African countries have not been able to get up to 1% of their populations vaccinated, whereas some other countries, like even the state of New York, to use a state in the United States, has been able to vaccinate up to about 84% of the population. At the moment, the US, UK, other countries around the world, the US has given booster vaccines to over 2.4 million people. Only yesterday, you know, we saw the president, we saw Mitch McConnell, we saw, what's her name, Jill Biden, the first lady, all taking booster vaccines. And this is the whole point being made by the WHO and the WTO, you know, that look, it doesn't make sense. Some people have had breakfast, they have had lunch, they have had dinner. Now you are giving them, you know, a second round. Yorubas will say that you are already satisfied, you are eating again on top of it.
They are the ones manufacturing their vaccines.
Yes, I get the point. But the point being made by Minister Mohammed, you know, Lai Mohammed, is that, look, there's this inequity in the world and there should be global solidarity to make sure that there is equity. So I don't see why anybody should take him to task for that.
Well, however, he's blaming it on the tourism sector.
Yes. I mean, you can blame them because the rest of the world is not listening. They are not listening to WTO. They are not looking to Tedros Ghebreyesus of the WHO. The whole point is, can we do more in terms of manufacturing, in terms of global oxygen supply, in terms of, you know, supporting the low and middle income countries? And Minister Mohammed is consistent. What he has said is in line with the presentation of President Muhammadu Buhari at the 76th United Nations General Assembly. So in that regard, he was more or less acting as the vuvuzela. But the residue of it is the point that is constantly made. Should African countries always depend on developed countries that have their own strategic national interests? Why are we not looking into manufacturing? Why are we not making efforts? Why are we not focusing on how we can, you know, help our own people? Because nobody will ever look out for you. In Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani had to run with his bag, with his tail, you know, between his legs. Because at the end of the day, other countries will look after themselves and their own people. So we shouldn't be dependent.
All right.
For me, I think we should stop blaming COVID for our problems. Why is the minister blaming COVID? For what? What was contribution of tourism to Nigeria's GDP before COVID? Was it not 2%?
Yes, it was 2%.
Isn't Cape Verde doing 17% and Seychelles doing 17%? Is COVID the problem of tourism in Nigeria? Insecurity. The way Nigerians themselves demarket themselves. This same minister that is saying tourism, he was the one that said, what's it called? Senegalese jollof rice better than our jollof rice. Is that not demarketing? The way we demarket, we've closed Twitter now for so how many months now? I don't know, Nigerians taking pictures, sharing it on Twitter, come and visit Mambila Plateau and the likes. Are you not stopping tourism? You see, we know the solution to our problem. Why do we like to beat it? Now, because COVID has come, now COVID is the reason why we can't
but the point is...
COVID is the reason.
No, Rufai. The
COVID
point
is the reason.
I don't get it.
Every sector is impacted.
Okay.
Aviation is affected. Tourism is affected. Even human relationships are affected.
But I feel like we should have more conversations about how to manufacture vaccines as opposed to blaming.
No, there's a culture of victimhood.
Because that's the
incidented by COVID-19.
Would do that.
And my own understanding is that that's where it's coming from. You know, the question to ask is post-COVID, Do we have strategies in place? Are we making efforts to make sure that tourism sector in Nigeria, concrete efforts are made to harness the strategic potential of that non-oil sector? But if it speaks in the context of COVID, yes, we all know that COVID has, affected the way we live
like you said,
and the way we relate.
Correct. We'll take our final story. Over the weekend, the verified Instagram account belonging to Kokun Foundation, a not-for-profit organization, shared videos of a community known as Itewolo, where people live in houses submerged with filthy water. Some have found themselves living under such conditions for well over 20 years. In this community, women, children, and the elderly cook and even shower with the filthy water. Let's take a look.
Well done, no. Well done, sir. Hey, let's go inside. How long have you been staying there? Can you continue? How long? How many years? 4, 5 years. Wow, this is so sad. Calm down. Let me see. No, fine girl. Wow. Wow. So sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. So sorry. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, she's bathing now. Now, wow. She's bathing. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's how she take her baths every day. Wow. Wow.
This is so heartbreaking. I thought I should call attention to this video. I mean, this is the worst thing I have seen so far. I was heartbroken when I watched it. It's not the only video. If you guys go to Kokun Foundation, he's shared a lot of videos of this community called Itewolo in Lagos State, where people have been living like this for over 20 years. This is appalling, it's very disgraceful, and I think something should be done about this immediately.
Oji, is it because they are poor?
And
That's
this is the center of
like
excellence.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is
because
so
they are
much.
poor?
Thank you, guys.
So much.
Anyway, thank you to Ojineka.
That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. See you tomorrow.